Making all those lovely chicken noises. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Pepper, everybody's looking plump except Bibby. Bibby, you're still looking a bit scrawny. Sheena wants to jump up there too. She's like, there's not room for all of us. I want that perch. And Henny Penny's like, you just give it a try. Well, Sheena, the ball's in your court. Oh, she's pretending not to think about it. Hello, YouTube friends. Well, this is Friday, January 7th, and today it's really cold and really windy outside. So this is an indoor day in spite of all my great desires to go work outside in the wintertime. It's not happening today. Wind is one weather element I don't tolerate very well. So I'm having some hot chai, and maybe I should take just a second right now to show you when I made that. I made it for Adam, and I put it in the refrigerator because he likes cold chai, and he wasn't drinking it very fast. And I thought, well, maybe it's too cold for cold chai. But I heated it up, put it in the microwave with a good bit of milk and some sugar, and now I have some hot, creamy, sweet chai, which just feels good on my hands and tastes wonderful. So here's that little clip of making chai. It's a wet and nasty day outside. The clouds are scurrying across the sky and the rain is slashing. We drove down the road and it was bucketing down, but we need the rain. So I'm going to go inside. Look at all that spray. I'm going to go inside and make a big pot of hot, steamy chai. Well, here we are in the kitchen. This is a 6-quart pot, and I've filled it pretty full of water, but left lots of room in there. This is not really a recipe. This is not an exact science. You make it as you like it. So this is the tea that I use. It's in a Assam. This is its original packaging. I used to put the tea in first, and Adam told me that makes it rather bitter if it sits there and it brews and it becomes harsher and harsher. So he puts the spices in for a couple of hours, and then he puts the tea in last for like 15 minutes before he strains it all out. So I used to count out my spices, and now I just want as many spices as I can. So this is star anise. I am not a fan of the flavor of anise usually. I may have said that before. Anise, fennel, tarragon, all those kind of flavors. I'm not real wild about them, but I like them in combination with other things. I thought about making this tea this morning because I was this is my Christmas towel that I posted a picture of before, and I washed it, which I don't always remember to do. And then I was putting it up, and its bag is in this basket over here, which is what we keep all of our spices in, on the top shelf in our kitchen. All right, so this is whole allspice. Is that right? Yes, whole allspice. And so I get a little handful, maybe a little bit more. I used to be much more chintzy with the stuff, but not now. Okay. Cloves, very, very important. Now, my husband doesn't eat cloves and food anymore, like ground cloves, because they make his mouth hurt with his illness. But it seems like in stuff like this, it doesn't hurt. So I used to, count out 4 of them. Now I just kind of la-di-da. Because if you do buy these spices whole in bags like this at Asian stores, Southeast Asia, whatever, they are much, much cheaper than if you buy them in the grocery store. Much, much. Okay, this is pepper, whole black pepper. You don't want tons of this unless you really want a rather hot. That might be a bit, and we'll go ahead and cut in. There's so much water, it's not like any of them are going to dominate. But the purpose of this is to heat these up so that they release their oils, I do believe now. Where has he been putting this? This is mace. I think we are out of cinnamon sticks. That's terrible. Oh, that's cardamom. I don't like to have to break open the cardamom pods. That is a pain in the neck. So we'll either just add them. Bobo, what you barking at? There's always something to bark at. So this is cardamom seeds. Oh man, the smell of that. There's a, oh, such a complex scent. It's sweet, it's nutty, it's woodsy. How can something be sweet and woodsy at the same time? I don't even know, but it is. I love cardamom. That's, I guess, a little harder spice to find sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to let this, I'm putting it on high when it starts to really steam. I don't want it to boil. Too much mess. Then I'll turn it down to just above low and let this sit on the stove, and it will make the house smell wonderful. And then we'll come back to it. It's about 8:23 right now, so about 10:30 I'll come back in and put the tea in. Okay? Well, it's been a couple of hours that this has been steeping, and look what just the spices have done to the color. Isn't that wonderful? So now I'm going to take about 1.5 tablespoons of that tea and put it in. I missed the pot with that spoon. That's what happens when you're filming and you try to do things with your hands. Okay, well, I have it set all the way on low. I'm just going to give that a, maybe just however long you would let tea steep to make it good and strong. So maybe 10 minutes in all that water. And then I'll let it cool off before I put it through a sieve to take out all of the solids. And now it's a few minutes later, and see how dark and murky that tea is. So we'll let it cool. But that's the color you want. Well, wasn't that fun? Yesterday was a much better day weather-wise, and this is what I do. Oh, yes, the cat. I'm sorry, the cat is everywhere, thundering around the house. He's a kitten, and he's beautiful when he does this kind of thing, but then he goes crazy like kittens do. We won't talk about the cat. His name is Leo. He's actually my daughter's cat. We are cat sitting this week. Yesterday, though, I went out to do my chickens, and I just couldn't make myself go back inside. It was just too beautiful. So I'm going to share some footage now with you about what I did. Most of the day yesterday, I wore myself out. First of all, a little bit of house lot work, which means the yard around the house. And I finally put a surviving forsythia plant in the ground and did some other little things. And then I decided to go back and go behind the barn and do a little bit of work behind the barn. So let me show you what I did yesterday. I was pretty, as the British say, pretty chuffed when my husband came home to tell him all that I had done. Let's go look. It's a bit brisk this morning, but I think this is the morning I want to cut back my tarragon bush. It's definitely tired and brown. I think there's a little bit of new tarragon coming up. I don't know, maybe not yet. That might be from old stalks. So this is a pretty good sized bush. I'm going to put all those cuttings into my wheelbarrow and take them back to burn. I was thinking about encircling it with this tire, but this is supposed to make a raised bed, and this is already established at its level, so I think I'm going to take the tire away. Otherwise, there's really nothing left in this herb bed. I took everything out that I wanted, and it's going to be mowed over. The only thing really left is lots of volunteer cilantro over here, and I'll leave that and we'll enjoy it this spring. Well, I've waited for the traffic to dissipate and it hasn't, so I'm just going to go ahead. I've marked the tarragon bush with a stake so that Adam won't mow it over. Other jobs that need doing this time of year is all these little suckers that have come up around this crepe myrtle. They need to be cut off. All of those need to be cut off. It should just be one trunk. That's true all over the farm. In addition, I need to cut all these climbing rose bushes back. I cut them back every year, as you see, but they get really out of hand. I've had some that go all the way up to the eaves, and they have to be kept under control. All these concrete leaves were inside of this little bed around this sedum plant, but I've taken them off because, as you see, the daffodils, the bulbs are trying to come up already, and I don't want to squash them, so I've put those little leaves around the outside edge. They do come up early. They're all over the yard in various places. Okay, back at the new home for the forsythia bush, I got my shovel, and I've cleared off this little area of ground of leaves and a little bit of weeds just to give this a better start, and so I can nestle this big tire in there. I might need to do a little bit more. It's quite large, but eventually this will be a great spot for this plant. Okay, so I'll pause you and we'll continue in a second. Okay, I've got that in place. Now what I'm going to do is not a very long distance to that pile of old wood chips, which have now become mulch and good dirt. So I'm going to take my wheelbarrow and just fill up this tire, and then I'm going to put that lovely little forsythia in there, and that should be a beautiful home for it. I'm hoping it'll do really well. Okay, there she is. Nicely bedded down in good dirt. I think this will be a good spot. And it's open on the bottom so that those roots can go all the way down into the soil. I'm back behind the barn. I've got my loppers. Where did I leave my loppers? Oh, my loppers are resting on the fence over there. I've got 2 hand saws I haven't used yet. This is that fallen down cedar tree, and I'm trying to use the loppers to cut as much of it as I can away. I've got a big pile here and a big pile over there. Oh, what a mess this is. I can't even describe. This is the back of the barn that we're going to be taking off. I am wondering if well, there's no way any of the posts are any good. This is where I'd like to have maybe another porch on the back. It'd be lovely if this were a place that had more porch and less house, if that were doable. Anyway, I'm walking on our old roofing. You can see it peeking out in some spots. Mostly it's just covered. You can hear it. You can hear it. It's covered with pine needles. There's some more. There's some more. Anyway, it does make one a little unsteady. Not too bad. I don't mind. There's the cedar tree that sadly is still alive. You can see where Adam cut it back before. Really short to get it off the barn. But in the last, I think we had to do that to get our loan, our mortgage. We had to get no greenery could be touching a building on the property. So he cut it way back, but it's grown. Now I've cut off a huge amount, but it's all the way up on there. Anyway, I got back here and realized that part of it was dead, and then realized, no, that's not the cedar tree. We've had a very large limb here fall down from that pine tree. Pine trees are just awful this way. There's a dead tree right there. Anyway, this limb has fallen down and is caught on the cedar tree, but I can wiggle it. And then I've got another shorter limb, not really smaller, but another, that's not a pine, that's some kind of an oak or something, that's also caught on this. So I've got 2 other ones. Anyway, like I said, it's a mess. But I can get back here now. So that's got to be an advantage. I'm going to get the hand saws and see if I can make any progress with those. I mean, I'm not very strong, honestly, like I used to be. And I tire out quickly. But we'll see if I can. Maybe I can get a cut in the middle of this one and at least get that part to fall down, tote it away. I want to have a nice big fire here soon. This is all fuel for the fire. So that's looking back out away from where I am, across the back of the barn. All right, I disconnected this big branch that was lying on the fence at this point from what was attached to the cedar. So it fell down and I've dragged it this far. It's quite heavy, so I'm going to leave it there and maybe we'll drag it with the riding mower later. So I cut it right there, which means the top part of that branch is still caught in the cedar tree, but I'm wondering if I can pull it down this way and then I'd be able to get to that next big one, which seems very rotten. Some of this is so rotten I can break it in my hands, but not the pine. Well, I think I'm done for today, wearing myself out. I'm going to need a nice soaking bath later. So here's, you can probably get a better look at the tree now. There's also a stand of bamboo back here. I don't know if you can see the fence. It's squashed the fence and is laying on the fence. If only it were dead. See the fence there? It would be so much easier. Let me go to the other side. So here's the other side. I mean, cedar is such beautiful wood. Look at that. But the root ball is on the other side of the fence. There's a post right there. And here it's laying on. It is just so hugely heavy. Adam probably needs to get in here with a chainsaw. But honestly, chainsaws make us both nervous. But I don't know any other way. We need to drop this entire tree on this side of the fence. And there's also some metal on the other side that the previous owner dumped back there. There was some little round structure. I don't know what it was supposed to be. And I pulled out a lot of dead branches from up there. I think there's still more. When a tree is lying like this, everything that falls just rests on top of it. And the vines have grown on top of it. And if we don't get it in hand now, then in a few years, it's just going to be bad all over again. Before Adam got sick, he worked really hard to keep his fences, at least around the pasture, clean. But he hasn't been able to do that for the last couple of years. So, got to get it in hand. We'll be pulling all these little branches and stuff out of here. The tree is also resting. The weight is on some of these dry branches that were cut before. They're quite embedded in the soil, that and the fence. So anyway, but we'll start some burning here soon on a good day. It won't be today. You may wonder why in the world I'm doing this when I talked about doing creative things in the winter. But the fact is that this is the time of year to do outdoor work. Here's all those branches I pulled out. This is the time of year to do outdoor work in the south. This is when the temperature is nice. If I were out here in July or August trying to do this, or even September, I would be eaten alive by mosquitoes, and there would be snakes and all kinds of stuff, and it would be 100 degrees. So today I can do it in a barn coat with my nice, I have really good work gloves that I use. I bought these so I could do some farm work. All right, I guess I would consider this part of the barn project, because without getting this under control, the back of the barn is not going to be able to be an attractive place at all. So it kind of has this lovely overarching look, but honestly, it's not. All right. Well, I had to recover from that adventure, that's for sure, because I took pain meds in the afternoon and a hot bath, and I survived. Um, and today it's one of those times where in spite of being very, very good about what we eat, I just really want to bake something yummy. So I'm going to bake something quick and easy. This is a recipe that my dear blogging friend, Granny Marigold, shared with me for, oh dear, what are they called? Baked tarts, some kind of tarts. They remind me, when I looked at them, the recipe reminds me of a miniature pecan pie. And I am going to put pecans in some of them because I love pecan pie, but my husband is allergic. So I'm going to make some for him with chocolate chips. I think the actual recipe calls for raisins, and that would be delicious. I prefer sultanas to raisins. So I might make a little assortment. So we're going to do that next, and then that'll be our video for today. Thanks so much for joining me. Now let's go work in the kitchen. Now this recipe is for butter tarts, or butter tarts, I should say. This is from my friend Granny Marigold. She has a blog, and she is a Canadian blogger, and I'd never heard of butter tarts. It must be a Canadian thing. Anyway, I'm starting with a store-bought pie crust, okay, because I'm lazy. I just am. Actually, I want to tell you about this. My dear friend Mary brought us a pecan pie, or some kind of pie, pumpkin pie. Anyway, and Adam was like, oh, a lovely homemade pie crust. I got to show you what I deal with every minute of every day. Leo, you got a stripy tail. Anyway, and so Mary brought this pie crust, and Adam was like, who's a very good cook, said, ooh, homemade pie crust. And Mary later said, no, I've got it at Food Line, probably a Food Line brand. After that, I thought, I'm not going to mess with pie crust unless I'm in the mood. So this was one pie crust that I rolled out over here. I thawed it out and unrolled it. And used a juice glass to cut just about the right size. The first one I did with a larger glass was a little bit too big. I've wasted a little bit of crust there, but the rest of them are just right. And this makes 17 with a teeny little bit left over. I didn't want to waste any of that wonderful pie crust. So there they are, and they're ready to go, and I've pricked each one of them so they won't bubble up. The cat is screaming at me because apparently that's not enough food in his bowl. He has to have it full to the top. So I gotta go top it off again. Maybe now he'll give me some peace. Okay, so let me read you this recipe that Granny Marigold is sharing. She makes all baking look easy and perfect. Okay, it calls for 1 cup of brown sugar, half a cup of corn syrup, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, and unbaked tart shells. She said maybe 15 or so this should be just the right amount for this recipe. Hooray, I don't have to adjust. I'm supposed to mix those ingredients well, put some raisins, chocolate chips, or what was the other thing? Oh, pecans in the bottom, and then cover with the sugary mixture. Bake at 350 on the bottom rack of the oven until the pastry is golden brown, she says. All right, Granny Marigold, let's see if this works for me. That's 1 cup of brown sugar and a half a cup of corn syrup. She said you can use either the clear or the amber colored. It doesn't make any difference. There's 2 of my hen's eggs, and I have to say I'm embarrassed about my hens. They're giving me, all told, about 1 egg per day these days. It's just pathetic. But there you have it. It is January. And a cupful of vanilla, which I like to call a teaspoon. The recipe calls for 3 teaspoons of melted butter, which seems like very little. Of course, this isn't a big recipe either. 3 teaspoons is about a tablespoon, so I kind of eyeballed it. I hope that's enough. These are very little. These are mini tarts, not the big tarts. It does take a little bit of elbow grease to get this mixed because the corn syrup is very thick and sticky. I also added just a sprinkling of salt. I found that most things that are very sweet, like this is, benefit from having just a teeny bit, a dash of salt. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, let's see what we do next. right, I've got 4, 5, there's a little 5th one down here, with sultanas in there. Sultanas are just golden raisins. They're just made from green grapes instead of red grapes. And then I did some 6 pecan ones because I love pecan. Don't really know which ones Adam's going to prefer. I'm assuming the chocolate chips. Oop, that's probably a bit much. You don't want to overfill them, I think, on the bottom, or else they won't have enough of the filling and they might not hold together. This is going to be so much fun to try. I've never heard of such a thing. Never eaten these before. Except for in as much as they might be similar to a pecan pie. Okay, so let's put the filling in. Isn't that just beautiful? This is going to be so fun. I think that's about as full as I can fill those without making a terrible mess. I'm so excited. Do you think I should sprinkle anything on the top or would it just burn? I better not. I'm going to trust to the recipe. All right, here we go. Look, aren't they beautiful? There's the chocolate chip ones in the middle. I'm sure they'll poof down a bit, or unpoof. Here's the raisin ones on that side. And then the pecan ones are very obvious, so I won't afflict my husband with them. I cannot wait to eat these. Okay, look at that. You know, butter tart is way too simple a name for something as delicious as this. Okay, now I'm going to have a raisin one first because that's, I think, the recipe, the Canadian recipe as it would be eaten there. Oh. That's hot. That filling is wonderful. And yeah, that pie crust is great. I'm having it with a glass of milk. The reason why I was trying chocolate chips and pecans is because I looked at another recipe before Granny Marigold sent me hers, and they mentioned all the different things you could put in the bottom, and those two things were very appealing. I bet you could put dates, any kind of chopped nut. Just, oh boy, that's so good. I think I'm going to use a spoon and blow on it. Bobo is on my knee, asking for a little bit. You want to see? Hey, Bobo, you want something, don't you? Probably he just wants to be on my lap. He's missing his daddy when he's at work. All right, I know I only put 2 on this plate, but don't you dare believe that I'm only going to eat 2, but we won't talk about that. This is delicious. Granny Marigold, thank you so much for sharing this. This is going to be a staple. I'm making these to take to church a week from Sunday. Oh yes, they will be excited and there won't be any left over. Thanks so much. Now the pecan. This is a very private moment. I think I'm going to turn you off. Somebody's feeling quite at home now.